Leave your fucking phone. If you touch your phone, I swear to God, I'm gonna smash your head. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys, again. It's Premium Podcast here. Today we have our new friend, David Lee. Okay, he's not a new friend, but like a new guest.
We're day one.
We're day one.
We are day one.
And we have Turjdan, Moin Matar, and
David Lee.
You can call him Yezo too.
Yeah, Yezo.
So, David, how's it been going?
It's been going great. My friend came up from my high school, so I showed her around campus.
Nice.
Grabbed food. Caught up, seeing how the team is doing down in high school. Yeah. It's a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, tell us about yourself a little bit. I mean, we already know a bit, but share with the guests.
What information do they want?
What are you studying? What are you doing?
I'm 6 foot. If I go on my tiptoes, I'm single. I'm very good looking.
Yeah, he is.
I'm a very nice guy. I will treat you well. I will fondle you.
Okay, let's not that.
Okay.
I meant more like, what are you studying? What's your major?
I'm a government major, which
Nice.
means I'm a prick. I'm failing all my classes, but C's do get degrees. But yeah, I'm a government major. I'm a 28 freshman here at Dartmouth College. Yeah, RD'd here. I got deferred and denied by UPenn, so fuck Penn. Dartmouth's the best Ivy. Behind Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Columbia, Brown. What's the other one? Cornell, but that doesn't count. That's not a real
Cornell
Ivy.
is not an Ivy.
It's
I
not an
think.
Ivy League.
Yes.
Yeah, we only have 7 now.
Yeah,
We got
sure.
rid of Cornell, so. But yeah, go Dartmouth. Go
Right.
government department.
Go Big Green.
Fuck B+ meetings.
Right. Talking about Dartmouth, how do you like it here so far?
I hated it for like the first week or two. It reminded me too much of my high school, and I did not have a fun time in high school. But
Were you bullied?
in high school?
Yeah.
No, I was not. I was bullied in middle school.
Oh shit! Is
for
that
being
why you
fat.
became a wrestler?
That is why I became a wrestler. That's why I got into
Nice.
combat sports,
Nice.
because I didn't want to get bullied anymore.
Did you bully the bully?
No, I
nah.
graduated, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
If he stuck around, he would have fucked around and found out. But he graduated, so unfortunate for me. But yeah, that's how I got into combat sports. I was bullied in middle school. Oh, I was bullied. I was bullied in middle school for being fat. Korea is a very fat-phobic society. We don't like fat people in Korea. If you're fat in Korea, good luck. You have to make it up with other things. You either got to be really smart, or really, really, really rich, or just sociable. I was not rich, sociable, nor smart, so it was not a good time.
But you're a royal family, so
Oh yeah, I'm part of the royal descendant.
yeah.
Basically, if you marry him, you'll become royal.
you'll
Yeah.
become royalty.
Really,
Huh?
that's interesting.
Oh,
Is it
sorry.
socially? Does it have social
No.
credits? Or
No,
something?
it's purely historical.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
but we
I mean,
have,
it's
we have
nice.
some land. The government gave us some land.
You want
to
free
keep.
land? Marry it.
Yeah, free land. It's probably like
He's not only good looking and,
And-
6 foot. What, 6 foot?
6 foot, just 6 foot.
Yeah.
6 foot.
Cool.
With good shoes and a tip and a little hop in the step.
So, tell us about your wrestling experience. That's interesting to me. How was it, like the transformation in general, and what made you get into it besides being bullied for sure?
Yeah. So when I first started wrestling, it was COVID time. So that made it a little tough. But our high school had a really robust wrestling program for prep schools, for boarding schools. We were when I came in, we were 6th in the nation.
But just walk me through it. You came here to the US. How old were you?
When I was 12, my family moved to the U.S. for 2 years during my primary school years, because of my dad's work, and then we moved back to Korea, where I completed the rest of my primary education and my middle school years, which I got bullied during, and then I moved to the U.S. 9th grade in high school, and after being bullied for a little bit, I was like, "Fuck this! Time to reinvent myself."
Yeah.
So
for the comeback.
So I decided to reinvent myself, and the first step to reinventing was joining the rowing team in my freshman fall. But the funny thing is that to row, you also have to know how to swim. I did not know that. My assumption was that the boat would prevent me from swimming.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of being in a boat.
Yeah.
It's buoyant, which means it floats on top of the water. But instances of flipping the boat do occur, which means you have to pass a swim test.
And you did not pass the swim test.
I hadn't swam in over 4 or 5 years.
So it's good you didn't jump today in the river.
Exactly.
Okay.
But so we did a swim test in the pool.
You can't swim.
Oh, I can swim now.
Oh, nice.
So what happened then was my mentality was that I would doggy paddle across the swimming pool.
What's a doggy paddle?
Like a little. I was confident that would be the way to success, and I was confident that I would. I thought my general body composition would keep me afloat, and my paddle would like slowly get me across the swimming pool. So when we did the swimming test, I jumped in. I thought I floated. I did not. I sank to the bottom of the swimming pool. I'm not joking. I swam to the. I jumped and I went all the way down to the bottom of the swimming pool, and like, I like would not float, and so I kicked off the bottom. I was gasping for air. I was like, and then like I started to do the test. So I came back, and then you had to tread water for 3 minutes. On like the minute mark, I like slowly sank, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna die. And so I tapped the senior next to me, and I was like gurgling. I was like, help. And he grabbed me, and this guy was fucking massive. This guy was squatting like 335 for like several reps. He was like benching 245 for reps. This guy was a massive human being. He grabbed me, he chucked me across the water, and I flew to the edge, and I was able to grab the edge of the swimming pool and like get up. But unfortunately, what that meant was I had failed the swim test, and my coach at the time, I was like, I can do it. Just let me have another go. And so he let me have another go. I swam. I went back. I actually finished the swim test.
Nice. That's
But then
nice.
he said, still can't let you on the team. I was just like, what the fuck? Why did I just... You could have at least sent me home. I didn't have to wait for an hour and then do another swim test.
Yeah.
But that's how sort of my athletic journey started, with a failed swim test. And so that fall, I took a PE swimming to redeem myself.
Nice.
And then during the winter, I joined the wrestling team.
Wait, how is that related?
It's not. I just joined because I always knew I wanted to do combat sport. I always wanted to do boxing, but my mom wouldn't let me. She didn't want me losing brain cells because she thought I was already.
She
dumb
didn't
enough.
know that you lose brain cells just daily. You know,
yeah. She didn't know there was not much to lose in the first place. To begin with.
Artur.
So why wrestling?
It was the only combat sport offered.
Okay. So wait, I'm gonna ask a better question. If there has been a bit like, if all of the combat sports would have been offered, what would you have taken other than Muay Thai?
MMA.
Nice.
If
Why?
MMA was offered, I think the point. I think restricting yourself when you're doing a combat sport isn't the smartest idea. I think it's just not practical.
Yeah.
You get into a combat sport to see if you and I slug it out, who would win. You know, you don't, like, that's the point. And in my opinion, MMA is the most complete art. Obviously, people cite, do you know what Lithway is?
No.
Lithway is this, I actually don't know which country it originates from, but the rules are, you have headbutts. I think your bare knuckle as well. And if you get knocked out, your corner has like 8 minutes or something like that to wake you up.
Sure.
And if you
That's a lot
up,
of time, no?
huh? Yeah, that is a lot of time. So when you're knocked out, you get back up, you get back in there, and you fight
So
again.
it's like fight till failure.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You fight until you die.
Nice.
And these guys train their heads, they train their temples to be able to headbutt people,
Wow.
and that's part of their game. But they don't have grappling. I don't think they don't have a grappling aspect.
Yeah.
Um,
But so that's maybe for like someone in general, but for a professional, maybe MMA fighter, what would you choose? Would you also choose MMA? Because I think we see almost all of the MMA guys, they have like two combinations, maybe several or more combinations of sports, something that they had
Yeah.
started with from the beginning and advanced in more later.
I think like just statistically, wrestling is the best based
Yeah.
for MMA. Obviously, you have these Dagestanis, these bearded Muslim. Nothing wrong with being
Yeah.
bearded or Muslim, just who they are. These bearded Muslim.
What's it, Russians?
Yeah. These guys, they just came over to the sport and started dominating these all these elite strikers, and you see a lot of Olympic guys, D1 guys, Henry Cejudo, DC. You've got D2 guys like Kamaru Usman. They come in and dominate with their wrestling.
Why do you think that is? Like people.
I think it's the mentality. I think it's the toughness. It is also their technical abilities and their physical attributes. But the biggest thing is, I do believe that wrestling is the toughest sport in the world. It's tougher than MMA. It's tougher than boxing.
Really?
It's tougher than jiu-jitsu.
Interesting.
Wrestling, because you go into like a high school practice room, you go into like a college level practice room, you go in there and you train and you feel like you're gonna die every second. It's nonstop pace. It's just pressure and pressure and pressure, and that's why we see a lot of these guys like Leon Edwards in his fight with Bilal Muhammad. I'm assuming there was a variety of factors, and he obviously competes at a very high level, but we did sort of see him give up. We did sort of see him, give up to the pressure of Bilal, and Bilal won because he wanted to be in there. That's the thing about wrestlers. Regardless of whether or not you really want to be in there or not, in that cage or in that on that mat, it doesn't matter. You're going to perform like you want to be there, and you're going to put everything out there. And that's sort of the mentality I think that a lot of wrestlers have. It's a no quit attitude. You don't get breaks in wrestling. At the very least, you shouldn't if you're wrestling right. If you're wrestling with the right people and you're wrestling the right way, you should never be resting. You're constantly working, constantly improving. And that's what's so tough about it. It's just, being tired's the norm. Being hurt's the norm. Like stuff hurting, like when I went into Class A's, like my back was killing me. Like I was on so many painkillers. My shoulder, I had a cracked rib and a torn shoulder and going into that competition. And you have to fight for every point. And it's fun being tough. I feel like a lot of guys enjoy being tough. They like the idea that they're tough guys. And a lot of people just don't have that, People quit. A lot of people are quitters. And someone like you can be a quitter and then in one moment and not in another, but a lot of people do have a tendency to quit time and time again, and I think that's just not a thing that a lot of wrestlers do. It's just they're programmed to not quit in their environments. So I think that's what makes them the best.
Interesting. What do you think?
Good points.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, like people like Marab, people call him a crotch sniffer. They call him like an inbred.
Yeah, they're definitely crazy people.
Yeah,
They're definitely crazy people.
But it's just he wins, and he wins because he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop shooting takedowns. It's just the intensity and the level and the pace. That's the thing. If like my belief is that if you get a guy that has unlimited cardio, like he does not gas out, and you teach him a 1-2 and how to defend a takedown and how to shoot a takedown, he's gonna be a world champion. I just think that's the fact of the matter. It's just people. If you have endless cardio, you're not gonna quit. No,
That's interesting.
That's my personal opinion.
So, we all practice jiu-jitsu together, and we can for sure feel David's background in wrestling suplexing us all the way every single fucking minute. And yeah, definitely. But I would ask, what do you think? Like, how is wrestling different than jiu-jitsu? So I think there's like so much similarities as someone who just comes from pure jiu-jitsu background. But I also always like love the wrestling culture and the mentality they have. And there's also like people who talk about the mountain built which is like they say why Dagestanis and all this stuff. People who come from the mountains, they have usually a bigger bull, and they tend to be able to wrestle more and better. They're just like physical attributes.
Yeah.
But I would ask, what's the difference between this and jiu-jitsu, and why do you think, like, other than the mentality, like maybe in the technical part, why do you think this is better for MMA more like than judo or jiu-jitsu or anything?
Why wrestling's better than
Yeah.
those sports?
Why would you choose, maybe personally?
Wrestling. Okay. I think for me, I think there's too much emphasis on being quote unquote technical in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of people just efficiency is important, but they just don't want to be in the thick of it. They don't want to struggle, in my opinion. I think that's why we have a lot of guard pullers in jiu-jitsu. It's because it's easier. It is the sort of easy way out.
Yeah,
instead
right.
of standing with a guy and wrestling, you just sit, you pull guard and
You sleep on your bag.
you go from
everything's
there.
good.
And pressure is different when you're playing top man and guard, because it's you're not trying to take the guy down. He's already on the ground, and all you have to do is pass his guard. And I think energy wise, it's a lot less straining to play guard and to play top position than it is to wrestle. I don't know why that's the case. I think it might be the fact that your base is the ground. You're not on your legs, and you're not constantly getting snapped, and pressure's being applied to your lower back and your neck. I think that's one of the reasons. So this emphasis on being technical, I think we saw it sort of with the Charles Oliveira fight against Islam Makhachev. I was rooting for Charles. I'm a big Charles fan. I got a poster of him, massive poster of him.
Yeah.
In my room. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorite fighters. But Islam was relentless. He just pressured, and on the ground he pressured against the cage, and just Charles didn't know how to respond to it. And Charles.
Does Islam come from a wrestling background?
Yeah, he's Habib's Habib's best friend, and they've trained under Abdulmanovich, which is Habib's father. And so I think that's why, and judo obviously is a phenomenal background to be in.
Would you say judo is the combination of jiu-jitsu and wrestling?
I think, to be honest, judo is interesting to me because it is such a highly respected sport. But for me personally, I always thought judo was cool. I thought it was sick. Judo was actually the sport that I wanted to get into when I was young, the first sport I wanted to get into, and I unfortunately couldn't. I just think there are too many limitations. I think the gi is like a really big limitation, and that's why I think like jiu-jitsu with a gi on is dying out. It's just not practical, in my opinion. And the fact that the Olympic Federation banned grabbing of legs in judo is also a big detriment to the sport. If you look at the history of combat sports, almost all combat sports come from Japan.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu obviously came from Japan. Kickboxing is actually sort of from Japan.
The Brazilian like jiu-jitsu. Oh, there's also Japanese jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, and
there's Brazilian and Japanese. What's the difference?
Brazilian comes from Japanese.
Yeah, but what's the difference between the Brazilian and the Japanese jiu-jitsu? Do you know?
One's just older.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is not really something that Japanese jiu-jitsu isn't something that's like, I don't think currently being practiced in large. What's his name? I think Henzo and a couple of the Gracie brothers went to Japan. They learned from like the old quote unquote masters of the sport of jiu-jitsu. There's obviously people like Kimura, which the submission's named after, who beat up I think Henzo or one of his brothers.
Wow.
And those guys sort of took it back to Brazil and made it their own and sort of spread Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that became big. And then jiu-jitsu in the gi became big. And then obviously we had this surge in no-gi with people like Danaher, with his leg locks, his death squad, and all of that. But like kickboxing is a hybrid of Muay Thai and karate. I think the lore behind it is that 3 karate guys and 3 Muay Thai guys decide to have a fight. And then the Karate Guys won actually.
Really?
Two out of three of the Karate Guys beat the Muay Thai guys, but the one karate guy that lost was supposed to be the best karate guy in Japan.
Wow.
And so that guy went back to Japan and was like, I can't believe I lost. And he studied Muay Thai and he modified karate. And that became what we know
Muay
as
Thai.
kickboxing.
Oh, the kickboxing.
As kickboxing. And
Wow.
so or at least that's how I know I might be completely waffling here. But that's how kickboxing came to be. That's how jiu-jitsu came to be. So like the biggest striking and grappling sports did come from Japan and judo.
What about wrestling?
I think our modern variation
Yeah.
of wrestling came from England. It actually came from something called catch as catch can, or catch wrestling for short. And it was basically wrestling with submissions. And it would be performed by
So like jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu, but they would not scoot their butts in the beginning.
Yeah. He's looking at her through her eyes.
Yeah. Do we have a serial butt scooter here?
No. We had just like one sparring with David, like me and I know that he is a wrestler, so I just put guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
He scooted
chance.
his
Now I
way
feel bad
towards me.
about it. So next time I will know.
But yeah, catch wrestling is basically it was utilized in underground British fight clubs
Wow.
in the 1800s, I believe, 17 to 1800s.
That's interesting.
And wrestling, they wrestled and they submitted. You know, they had straight arm locks, you know, Americanas, Kimuras. They had chokes, you know, arm triangles and stuff like that. And then they slowly modified the rules so that the submission aspect of it would slowly disappear, and it became pure wrestling. And that's what we know as folk style today.
Folk style.
Folk style, which is the type of wrestling practiced exclusively in the United States among
The
in
other.
primary, middle school, high school, and collegiate level athletes. Folk style wrestling. But yeah, I think personally though, Greco-Roman style of wrestling is the best space for MMA. I think it's low key a little better than freestyle. Well, from a technical standpoint, and judo as well,
Yeah.
because you see a lot of these traditional folk / freestyle wrestlers. They don't do too good nowadays. You know, Cejudo, Usman. You know, they're sort of the old guard. You see different types of wrestlers who utilize the cage more nowadays in the UFC. With Bilal Muhammad, obviously Decision Merchant. A lot of people like him, but you can't deny the fact that if he gets you on the cage and he puts his face up on your crotch, wraps his hand around your ass, he'll lift you up and put you back down. You know.
Oh.
Same with Habib. Utilize the cage beautifully. A lot of foot sweeps, a lot of technical takedowns, and a lot of top work. Keep holding them down, being able to hold them down, which is something that surprisingly a lot of American wrestlers haven't been able to utilize. Like Kamaru Usman was, I think, a D2 national champion. He had trouble holding guys down, and it's something that the Dagestanis don't seem to be struggling with. It's
To
just
hold the
something-
guy down.
Yeah, like to prevent the stand-up game is something that the Dagestanis do so beautifully that it like makes me like ooze with like a sexual drive that I've never seen before.
Nice.
It's something that's holistically unique.
Yeah.
The Dagestani art of grabbing other men and holding them down against their will. It's just something special about them.
Speaking so romantically.
Yeah, no. I think it's just something just so interesting and intriguing to me. I just don't know how they do it. I don't know what it is that makes it special. Obviously, I think it's just pressure. To be honest, I think that's the secret.
Pressure.
A lot of these American guys, they take you down, and their goal is to take you down.
That's it. They stop
And that's
there.
it. And
Yeah.
they sort of gas out, or they concede position in the top position. No, that's where you're supposed to work the hardest, and that's why you see guys like Khabib, they struggle to take down a lot of guys that aren't high level wrestlers in open space, but once they get to the cage and
That's
they're
it.
able to pressure you up against the cage and take you down, and then pressure you there, I think that's how they succeed. And it's a new game plan, a new style of wrestling that we didn't see back in the day. You know, with GSP, phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal world champion, he would take guys down in the open on the canvas.
Who was the guy that lost only 2 games and won like about 900 ones?
Alexander Karelin.
Yeah, that one.
Karelin.
Talk about that one.
Karelin. Oh yeah. I'm sure Artur doesn't like Karelin because he was actually, I think he's retired now. He used to be part of Putin's personal guard.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he used to be Putin's
Really?
bodyguard. Yeah.
Let's not get into it, guys. Here.
But this guy was a phenom. He lost his first and last wrestling bouts, and the last one he lost due to a rule change in the Olympics.
Oh wow.
So a lot of people argue it was bureaucratic. The reason that he lost.
So he only lost actually like
technically
1 game.
once is what a lot of people would consider.
Wow, that's interesting. To be honest, I would feel very safe if I had Alex as my bodyguard. I would just walk around, fuck everything.
Yeah.
Walk someone, see someone, I'm like, fuck you, what are you gonna do about it? It's like Alex pulling up behind me. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, he's a terrifying human being.
Yeah.
Have you seen the picture of him just menacingly like scowling at the camera as he lifts some 240
Yeah,
pound
I love that image.
guy up in the air. But yeah, I think yeah, it's a beautiful sport. It's a very technical sport and a very tough sport.
So as a last advice, for someone who would say, for example, if someone's watching who's going like, I want to go into MMA, I want to go like something like that, I want to just start wrestling, what would you advise? Would you advise people to start with the wrestling or get some base knowledge in kickboxing, Muay Thai, or some, let's say less of a defensive or like jiu-jitsu style sport, more of, attacking?
For MMA?
Yeah.
For MMA, I think for MMA, I think that you should start with wrestling. But if you're just self-defense, just trying to protect you and your family and your dog and your wife and your kid and your cousin and your pet lover and your
Yeah, I got it.
your Tootsie Doll, boxing, straight
Boxing.
good old fashioned boxing.
Not kickboxing.
Straight hands. Nope, just boxing.
Boxing.
I think just as the distance management
Yeah.
of boxing is sufficient for most people you find on the street and pubs, etc., etc. And to be able to knock him out in 1 or 2 punches is an asset that you definitely want to have.
Is there too late to start wrestling? Is there something like that?
I don't believe. I think you should start as soon as you can. The sooner
Yeah.
you start, the better. I think that was my biggest regret. If I'd started earlier, I do believe that I would have been able to place better and perhaps go D1. But unfortunately, fate has not led us to that path. That was my choice not to go D3, and it was sort of one that I live with. But I think you should pursue your passions. Maybe I have a guy who got into NYU, a very prestigious school, but he's thinking about sort of working that alongside being a fighter and hopefully go pro. And it's like,
Wow. But what does it take to go pro? How hard is it? And if you're just a wrestler?
I think going pro, it depends on the league and it depends on the country. I think it's a tough road. Not the technical aspect. I think if you're decently athletically gifted enough and you're mentally tough enough, you can go pro. It's just everything else that comes with it: the finances, public perception, the grind, and sort of the disrespect you have to put up with on that journey.
Yeah.
That's the toughest part. That's the part that I couldn't sort of get over.
So if someone just wants to become a pro fighter, let's say you're a wrestler, like if you wanted to become a pro fighter, what would you have done? Like, what are the steps that you need to take?
I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive family, so I'd have to live off their backs for a little bit. Probably get scrapped. I'll probably have to do a part-time job.
Is it that hard to get financed at first? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get paid
You don't
unless
get paid anything.
unless you.
Anything. Unless you're a pro.
And what does it take to get to the pro level?
You have to compete in a bunch of win some amateur fights. For Korea, you have to be a semi-pro after that, win a bunch of semi-pro fights, and then you get to be a pro. It takes you about, depending on your level of talent, it'll take you like a couple of years, probably 5, 7 to go.
Wow.
Pro, in my opinion.
You would be old by that.
I would.
time.
I would be very old. I would be around 25, 26,
Wow.
which is not that old actually. Now that I think about it, but I would have to give up everything. I'd have to drop out of college, if I really want to take it seriously. Because Dartmouth doesn't have a gym nearby. If it was like
Yeah.
somewhere in New York, I'd
No,
probably
but
be able to.
say
do
you're
both.
in a school that has wrestling, athletics,
I
you know, all
would
that
definitely
stuff.
consider it. I'd
Yeah,
definitely
no, but I'm asking if you were like an athlete at this type of thing, what would be the steps to go? Like now you're in college, you're in say D1.
consider it.
From D1, do you like how easy for you does it get to go to the pro?
You definitely have to consult a lot of gyms. You know,
Mhm.
they're big gyms like American Top Team, TriStar in Canada.
Mhm.
You'd go to a lot of these gyms to start training, and the coach would probably set you up with fights, and the coach would get you fights for amateur first,
Yeah.
pro, and then to go pro, you'd probably go in like a small organization. You'd send them some footage from your amateur days, and see if those promotions like you. There are a lot of regional, local promotions that are willing to have some good talent down there, and then the UFC is a whole different story. That's a
Yeah.
whole different story.
It is indeed. Do you have any further things to add or say?
No.
No. All right.
All right, thanks for having me.
David Diezoli, thank you so much for having us. I keep saying that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. We enjoyed you guys. See you again on the next episode in Premium Podcast. Have a good one,
Peace.
guys.
Have a good one.
Peace out.